Hi, guys. I'm Lawrence Linker, CEO and co founder of XT Academy. Our mission is to provide comprehensive educational resources that help people of all levels rapidly deepen their understanding of Web3 and blockchain technology. We have an incredible suite of innovative educational experiences launching soon. But in the meantime, I want to offer you the experience that probably helped me learn about blockchain the most, just talking to really smart people in the space. This week on the podcast, I'm talking to people who work at really big and well-established companies, have roles focused specifically on the fast-growing Web3 and blockchain space. Today, I'll be speaking with Ashok Venkateswaran, who is leading the digital assets team in the APAC region for Mastercard. Ashok, how are you today?
Good, good. Looking forward to this conversation.
All right, great. So Ashok, why don't we start by you just introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Surely. So my name is Ashok Venkateswaran. I lead the blockchain and digital assets practice for Mastercard here for APAC. So everything east of Dubai kind of sits with me. Now, a lot of people don't realize we're in this space. So I'll tell you more about it as we move forward in the conversation. But about me, so prior to Mastercard, I was with a blockchain startup where we built a decentralized database. I think we were a little bit ahead of our time, so we raised a bunch of money during ICO. We lost a bunch of money as a result of it, uh, and then I got poached by Mastercard. So that's how I kind of got into the blockchain space. Prior to that, I actually used to work for the New York Stock Exchange in New York, where we handled all the like the M&A of all of the other exchanges on a global level, because the New York Stock Exchange owned a whole bunch. So the day I got everything consolidated under one umbrella, we got bought up by ICE, and then I got laid off. So I moved out to Asia. It seemed like a good spot to come to. So I've been out here in Singapore for around 8 years, doing multiple things around digital transformation, blockchain, obviously, and more in the crypto digital asset space in the last 5 years.
This is super interesting. So I guess what I'd love to hear a little bit more about is how you got into blockchain in the first place. Like, what was the transition from being in the more traditional financial sector to going into the blockchain startup?
So I had a small stint at Ernst& Young. So I ran their digital strategy practice out here for APAC. Uh, and I kind of the stuff I was doing got a little boring and wasn't really interesting anymore. So I decided I wanted to kind of do something different. So I explored this blockchain, crypto assets, all of this stuff was coming up really new at this time, around 6 years ago. Uh, so I moved to a startup just to really understand and get your hands dirty, right? Because majority of the time, if you work at a large corporate, which is an established product, you really don't get your hands dirty of actually building something from scratch. So going to a startup, I held multiple hats. I did sales, product development, coffee runner, all of those things, and really understood how the digital asset space works, both on how it would apply to traditional solutions and also why it actually came about, right? Everything from, what was the reason for somebody to actually invent this digital asset space, all this tokenization technology, which came out 7 or 8 years ago. Uh, so really to understand all of those pieces. So it was a nice transition. I was able to use a lot of my knowledge in the banking and the financial services sector in this space, but also learned something completely new and different, which had to change your mindset. And the change in mindset, what's important.
Hmm, interesting. Why is that the most important thing?
Well, because I think, when you work in a bank for most of your life, like I started off, my first job out of university was at a trading desk, right? So you actually just think of one way of doing things. But then, as things kind of moved along, you had options and derivatives and a bunch of different things which came along. Similarly, uh, in the financial services sector, we kind of reached a stagnation point where there were new ideas coming out, new product types coming out, and more importantly, a lot of the products which were coming out just weren't accessible to the general public, right? Uh, like I did a lot of work in the wealth management space, so a lot of those new products actually came out were very focused towards people who could afford it, right? Now with blockchain and some of the tokenization, this kind of technology provided access and or democratize access, right? So more people could actually get in the space. So you could buy a handle of a Ferrari instead of buying the whole thing, and therefore own a piece of that asset, right? Which you couldn't do in the past. So those kind of ideas became really interesting in the space.
Yeah, interesting. So, okay. So just to summarize quickly, um, you've had, sounds like a long career in kind of the traditional finance space. 2017 comes around, blockchain is just absolutely booming. And you thought, okay, I got to check this out, see what's going on over here. And then sometime later, found your way to Mastercard.
Yes. So Mastercard at that time was just about starting on their digital asset journey. So we were just dabbling around and saying, okay, what do we do? So at that, when I joined the firm, there were four people in the blockchain and digital assets practice, right? Now we've got fifty people, and we are hiring a whole
Wow.
bunch of more people to really help us grow this practice.
Is that
Uh,
globally or for APAC?
globally. So I
Yeah.
mean, nowadays everything is kind of decentralized, right? So we're all under one umbrella, but we run different things. So we've got a product area, we've got a consulting practice which very focuses very much on the digital asset space. We also have a kind of a cybersecurity practice which kind of protects all of those pieces. So, as we discuss some of the products that we're working on, you'll kind of understand how we're really set up and how we are planning on being successful in this space.
Yeah, so this is what I'm super interested with. So, Ashok, as I think I mentioned to you, the theme for this kind of next group of conversations is all about how some of the like larger, more traditional companies, massive organizations are looking at the blockchain space. Do they see it as an opportunity? Do they see it as a threat? How do they see their way to interact with it? And I was particularly interested in speaking to you because I'm sure it's no secret to you that a lot of the blockchain, sort of promise is that we think that one day it will replace the sort of credit card network rails. So
That's
how
what we thought.
does yeah.
That, it's true. I mean, like initially when I first started, like when they called me for the job, I was like, Mastercard has a blockchain practice. I was very surprised, right? Uh, and initially, the management really thought of this as a threat, right? And we don't anymore because we've kind of evolved. We've learned a lot more about how the technology works, and the recent events have actually really helped us a lot, really streamline our strategy into where we want to focus on, right? We don't want to kind of go everywhere and say, okay, we could solve all kinds of problems using blockchain because as a blockchain person, I know there's only a small percentage of our problems that blockchain can solve, right? So when I first started, we really didn't know what we were doing. So we said, okay, our comfort zone is payments, right? So we actually built a cross-border payment solution on blockchain. And we built the blockchain from scratch. We actually built our own blockchain, right? Our own
Hmm.
proprietary blockchain platform. Uh, and it was terrible. It was the worst product we ever built, primarily because it didn't work as it was supposed to, right? So we tested it out with a couple of banks on a global level, and they gave us feedback on how we could potentially improve it. So we kind of scrapped it, and then we said, okay, well, let's not focus on the underlying blockchain, but more on building technology on top of it, right? So as a payments company, we still build payment solutions on top of it. So we have a cross-border payment solution. We last year or year before, we acquired CipherTrace, which is the transaction monitoring firm, which very much focused on the crypto asset space. So on the back of that, we've actually launched three new products in the space, right? So we've got a first product we launched was something called Crypto Secure. So our existing banking partners and financial services partners can take a look at it and say, well, we know where the funds have been, uh, so that way we don't have any tainted assets as a part of our network, right? Uh, then we launched another product called Crypto Source, which is allows our banking partners to provide crypto services to their clients, right? So this goes back to my point about democratization, where before you had to use you had to have a crypto account, all the other stuff. Now you can actually use your banking relationship to buy crypto assets. And it's much safer because all of the analysis we did, all the conversations we had with our customers, they're like, well, if I could buy crypto assets from a bank rather than buying it from, say, some of the exchanges which now are no longer, they would feel much safer, right? And the fact that those exchanges are no longer here kind of reinforced our thought that we would prefer to buy it from somebody right? Walking into your DBS or your CBA or Citi to buy these crypto assets, right? So that's what that product allows us to do. And last week we just announced a solution called Crypto Credential. So this allows you to recognize who you're sending money to. So if you're sending money to another party, say from your Binance account to your Crypto.com account, you know exactly who that person is, right? They've gone through a certain amount of checks, right? So our first few products are very much around our existing banking relationships. Our future products are to work on how do you connect a vast network, right? So that way we know exactly who we're dealing with. So we know where our strengths lie. We are a very strong, recognized network. So we want to kind of use some of those existing network rules to make this a safer place for our customers.
Mm, that makes a lot of sense. And just for the benefit of those people who may not know, VASP is.
Oh, so basically it's a virtual asset service provider.
Got it. So this is, in this case, you're referring to sort of like crypto native companies that are providing services.
Exactly. So it could be an exchange, it could be a wallet provider, any of those kind of any company which is in that virtual asset space. Now they can all be connected using our credentials. That way, when you're moving monies or moving crypto digital assets, if you want to stay crypto native, if you're moving digital assets from one point to another, you know exactly where the money is going, and you know that the other party has been gone through the right amount of checks, right?
Right.
Because imagine today, if you move your money to a wallet address, and you know it's like what 20, 25 different alphanumeric characters, right? If you type in one letter wrong or copy and paste it incorrectly, once that money is gone, it's gone, right? You can't get it back.
Yeah.
So this has an added level of security, and you've got all the Mastercard protections around it.
Right. So, I got a few questions here. So one, with these products that you're describing, are they like Mastercard branded products when your clients, which it sounds like are mainly financial institutions at this time, are they, accessing these products, very directly through Mastercard, or is it like sort of like a subunit of Mastercard?
No, it's Mastercard. So basically, I mean, if you think of it, we're a B2B2C kind of a company, right? So basically, so our products are sold either to a fintech or a financial institution, who would then they sell to the regular customer. We don't sell directly to the customer. Even if you look at your credit card today, uh, you either have a Citi or a UOB. If you're sitting in Singapore, a Mastercard issuers, right? So they are our customers, and then their customers are their customers. So we're a B2B to C kind of a relationship.
Got it. Yeah. And so the same thing with these products. So the
Exactly.
financial institutions are buying these products to be able to use with their customers.
Exactly. So these are either their products that they can sell to their customers to get them into the virtual asset space, or it is security products which helps them protect their customers, right? Their customers' identity to make sure they're not getting tainted virtual assets from other parties. So that's how that's our operating model pretty much.
Got it. And then a question about this idea of buying crypto from someone that you know in a way that's safer, et cetera. Um, Now I'm sure you've had this discussion many times, but there's a little bit of a dissonance there, right? Because um, has, as they say, not your keys, not your coin, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. True. But then what we're doing is that in the past, you had those self-custody wallets and you had custodial wallets, right? So if you have an account with one of the larger uh, exchanges, right, they would be the custodian of the assets, right? Now, what we're providing is a service where a bank can be the custodian of your assets, or you could even move it into your self-custody wallet. Therefore, you're a custodian of your assets, right? Because the largest losses over the last couple of months were very much around you couldn't access your assets. Right? The assets were there, but you just couldn't access them because those firms cut you off, right? So now if you can actually move the funds, you use the bank as a service provider for you to buy and sell your assets, and you can potentially move those assets onto your self-custody wallet or have your bank as your custodian as well. So
Yeah.
that provides you a slightly higher level of security because the chances of a large financial institution going under are slim. I mean, nowadays it's not as slim as much as it used to be in the past, but
Yeah.
you know, definitely, some of the firms that we're working with are much larger financial institutions, so they're a little bit more secure, right?
Yeah.
But the ability to move it into a self-custody wallet or into a cold wallet, you have a lot more control over your assets.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. And I think in reality, I think most people are happy to keep their crypto in a custodial wallet, right?
Oh yeah, I mean, because the reason is that a lot of people still fully don't understand this space, right? I mean, there's probably a handful of people on a global level who really understand and use this technology to the point, right? And for us, the key element is not the value of the crypto. We're providing services, right? We're providing services to those who want to be in the space, and we're developing technologies to allow them to use these assets, right? It is another asset class, right? So we're saying, okay, if you want to make payments using digital assets, right? If you want to buy a cup of coffee, not that you would using your Bitcoin, but you may want to buy a cup of coffee using USDC, right? Uh, so, you can go to Dimbula and say, here, I'm going to move my money from my wallet to yours, right? But what if you have to buy a larger thing, right? Or if you want to pay for a business to business type of purchase? What we're saying is that why don't you use a card and you can have your underlying assets in USDC or any other digital currency you want, right? Now, when you use a card methodology to spend your digital currency, with that, you get all of your dispute resolution. If you want a refund, like if you buy two shirts and you want to give one of them back, it gets a little bit difficult when you have a digital currency native transaction, right? But if you have a credit card transaction or a debit card transaction, dispute resolution becomes so much easier. Returns get so much easier, right?
Yeah.
So we're not saying don't use digital currency. We're just saying, well, some of the existing networks are there, which can provide you the ease of accepting. And that's the other big thing that we provide is that you can use a Mastercard at 100 million locations on a global level, right? You don't have that level of acceptance when it comes to digital currency.
Yeah. That's a very powerful difference, right? Um, yeah. I guess I can't help but wonder still, and I'm happy to move on from this topic, but um, is there an idea that like because with your history, you're really a crypto guy, and so I guess I'd love to understand a little better, like from your perspective, do you eventually see a future where maybe like the 50 people that in your team now comprises, let's say, a much larger part of the Mastercard business? And how does that relationship sort of work within Mastercard? How do other parts of the firm, like legacy parts of the firm, feel about that future?
But I mean, we've evolved, right? I mean, if you think about it, if you look at Mastercard's history, when they first came out with the card, this is even before my time, is that you had your sliding thing, little thing which you sliding thing, carbon copy, you mail stuff in, right? And then you had evolution into a digital where you can actually put your card into like this POS device, which will actually collect your payment. And then you move to touch, right? And now we're moving to even on our basic card technology, we prefer not to issue physical cards, right? So if you
Mm,
apply for a card in the future, you will get a virtual card instantaneously on your phone. And then if you
mm,
want, you can actually have a physical card. Now, that evolution, the company's kind of evolved quite well, right? One, obviously we want to be more environmentally conscious of creating all these plastic cards and metal chips and all of the other pieces if you could still do the same thing on your phone, right? So similarly, what we're building on the blockchain digital asset space is a couple of different things, right? One, we're building kind of hybrid solutions which uses our existing technologies with some of the newer technologies, which is like the card solution that I was talking about, enabling the use of cards on digital assets across a much larger acceptance area, right? Then we're building like digitally native solutions as well, where not about like crypto as much, but how do you really use the digital asset technology, right? So we're developing ways you can actually tokenize assets on the Mastercard network, which can be moved from point A to point B, right? So a bank could tokenize an asset on our network and move it from their bank to another bank to make a payment, right? And it could be any asset, right? So it could be a digital a deposit, it could be an invoice, it could be accounts receivables, all of these things. So we're building those type of solutions where these things will run on the Mastercard network. Now it'll be a new network; it won't be like our existing card network. Uh,
Mm.
and then similarly, settlement, right? So when you want to settle, so if you look at how transactions work today, uh, initially when you tap your card, it's a message, right, and the money gets sent at a later stage, right? What we're saying is that if you have digital currency, you can actually do atomic settlement. So the money actually reaches the merchant much quicker, right? So those are kind of technologies that we're building where, we are still trying to solve kind of today's problems using better technology, making it more faster, more efficient, providing more liquidity uh, to our customers, right? So they can do other things, they can buy other things. Therefore, uh, like money moves much faster. Like,
Yeah.
even if you look at five years ago, it was like what, T+3, and now then it went to T+1, and now it's T+0 for a majority of transactions, right? So so we continuously evolve. We say, okay, how do we make it easier for our customers to use a solution like ours, right? Because we're not really a credit card company anymore. We're a payments company, and no matter what happens, you'll need to make payments somehow in the future.
Yeah, that's fascinating, and I think it's incredible that Mastercard is so forward thinking on this and so on top of it. It's very inspiring. Um, what would you say are the biggest challenges that you face right now in your role?
Well, 4 years ago, it was getting management to buy in that this technology was going to be relevant now, right? Or 5 years ago, like saying if I walked into any of the management office and say, hey, listen, I think digital assets are going to be the next thing which we need to get into. People didn't believe it, right? Uh, because our existing networks were revenue generating, and this potential solution may not be revenue generating for another couple of years, right? So to get them to buy into that technology, right? And then get them to kind of disassociate what we're trying to do with the price of crypto. Because everybody says, oh shit, Bitcoin went from like, 5,000 to 70,000 and is now down to, what is it, down to like 29,000. So
Yeah,
associating that with the solutions that we're building, right? Because that's not what we're trying to do. So so management to really believe that one is a price of a speculative asset in a way, and the second part is actually building solutions on the underlying technology. And what Mastercard is doing is that building solutions on this underlying technology. So that was the biggest challenge, to get management to buy in, to say, well, separate the two. One is not the same as the other.
yeah, and I think maybe related to that topic, how does it what is it like for a guy like you when there's so much negative news in crypto in the last, like 6 months to a year?
It's awesome. I mean, it's the best thing which could have happened to us, right? Because I mean, like, what we're saying is that, we're not we never said that digital assets were not volatile. What we said is that, still use them, but then you have the stability and the network rules, all of those things that Mastercard brings to you to make your transactions much better, right? So the fact that that happened, it actually strengthens our position of providing services on that technology.
Yeah, awesome. I love that answer. Um, cool, Ashok. I think we've had a really good conversation. I think I got most of what I wanted to hear about. Is there anything else that you want to share that you think our viewers might find interesting?
So I mean, like, we're doing some really cool work on the CBDC space as well. So we're working on a pilot with RBA to help them test out digital currency that they're planning on introducing, right? Uh, So that's actually really interesting for us. We're also working on accepting USDC and some other stable coins directly onto our network, so people can stay digital native and don't have to cash out into fiat to work with us. So some really interesting things that we're working on to be in this space, right? And uh, we continue to evolve. A lot of people just don't know that Mastercard is in this space. So the more people understand that we're in the space, uh, it's actually great for us.
Yeah, for sure. Well, hopefully this will help with that. Well, listen, I want to finish with a question for you then. Um, XD Academy is a crypto education platform that I'm building, and I'm really interested in learning what other people in the space think it might be important um, knowledge to get out there. If you, in your experience, maybe particularly dealing with like the general public, or even not with anyone that you're dealing with, what is one subject area that you say, you know what, my life would be a lot easier if more people understood this?
I think a lot of people don't understand like the power of NFTs, right? Because everybody thinks of NFTs as a, owning your, your cartoon monkeys or cartoon bunnies and stuff. But, we feel that NFTs can actually tokenize real world assets, and it makes it a lot more powerful, especially for SMEs, which are trying to raise capital, get paid much quicker. So those kind of things. So if you could have any kind of education around real world use cases of blockchain, digital assets, NFTs, I think that's kind of valuable, right? Because people still think of when you talk about blockchain, they automatically like jump to, oh, what's the price of crypto, right? And to really kind of separate those things out. And also there's a whole bunch of stuff around, layer one blockchains, layer zero blockchains, layer two. What does all that mean, right? Think that kind of knowledge of would also really help. I mean, it would help me because, I try to keep up some of these things, but I don't have time to read. So if there's a podcast I can listen to, it'd be awesome of new things which is happening in the space, and where can you actually take this technology, right? Because a lot of people feel that your limitations are how far you can think, and the more you can think about it, the more the technology evolves and more people use it.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. And we have more than podcasts coming out, so I'll keep you
Okay.
posted. We'll
And happy to help, right? I mean, I think there's a lot of people in the space, and I hope to learn from these guys, right? Because they're actually doing some really interesting stuff. And similarly, and if I can educate people on what we're doing, not just on the Mastercard side, but also things that interest me, I'm happy to kind of jump in and teach people.
Yeah, that's it. That's exciting. Let's talk about that. Well, we're gonna meet, I think, next week for the group recording, but let's catch up separately as well and just and chat more.
Yeah,
One
sure.
thing I
And you
love,
have my number.
I have it. One thing I love about this space that I find super interesting, right, is that first of all, the diversity of personalities that you meet in the space is really high. People with very, very different motivations and sort of styles. You do have your sort of like, green-eyed, like, I'm here to make money at all costs. I think this is a big opportunity, super ambitious types. You have people like the most ultra conservative who are like, I think like I'm just here to bring prudence and we need to be very careful about everything we do. Those types of people are in crypto as well. They're not always seen as they're not always seen in the forefront as much, but there's a lot of them there. And you have people with expertise in all sorts of different areas, and the crypto arena is so vast that
Yeah.
nobody knows everything.
No, truly. I mean, I think the key element is that it's easy to kind of get into a small space, right? Because and crypto not being a small space, but getting into the space is much easier than some of the other areas in the past. Uh, but also like I think you also need those guys which are prudent and careful because they kind of keep it in check, right? And you also need those guys which are just saying, okay, let me go explore and see how crazy I can take this technology, because without those guys, innovation doesn't happen. Uh, so we need to kind of wear multiple hats, and all the parties I feel are equally important. Sometimes some voices are louder than others, but you know it evolves, right? Because the guys which are more regulatory after what happened last year were jumping up and down saying, "See, I told you so," kind of thing, right?
Yeah, yeah,
So,
sure. Yeah.
but then now,
And
if
they
you
were
look at it,
right.
things have changed. No, I mean, like, yes, but every new type of a product or solution goes through like a certain amount of evolution, and you know, this space is still very, very young. How long has it been? 12 years, 13 years at the most. So it took forever for derivatives and options to take off. So
Yeah.
here we are.
So where do maybe along these lines, I'd be curious, where do you stand on Pepe coin or just maybe meme coins in general?
Well, I mean, like I kind of dabble on a personal level a little bit, but on a Mastercard level, uh, you know, we can fit it into some of our what we want to offer, right? What we're trying to do is trying to kind of be in that payment space, right? So, some of those things are valuable in an internal kind of a loyalty type of environment. So we also dabble in that space. Obviously, every single card has some kind of a point system. So we feel some of those securitized tokens and all of those things are valuable in a closed ecosystem if you want to give, like, say, rewards or loyalty type of things. But how do you really bridge the gap into say, okay, can I actually use it to make a payment, right? Because our goal in the future is that you can have any kind of digital asset in your wallet, right? And you could use it to pay using the Mastercard network. Anything from your tokenized reading habits or whatever you feel has a value, you can use it on the Mastercard network to make a payment, right? Imagine you could go into a bookstore and say it's a $30 for the book, but how about if I share my all the books I've read in the past as a historical information, which then you could repackage and tokenize to market to other people in my same demographic, right?
Mm,
So we can help you put a value on anything which is in your wallet.
yeah, that sounds cool. Yeah, let me make some money off my data for once.
Of course, right? I mean, like I'm a big believer in the fact that I should own my data, and all the people who are using it, I should get compensated for it. It doesn't have to be a huge amount, but just to say, hey, we used your last name for something in the old version and the new version. Here's 10 cents.
Yeah, yeah. Hey, I mean, I think that's the promise of Web3, right?
Yeah,
Ashok, it's been really good having you here today, and I look forward to reconnecting with you next week.
definitely. Thanks so much for your time, guys.
I hope you enjoyed that conversation as much as I did. If you're interested in learning more about any of the subjects we spoke about today, or just want to meet some really cool, helpful people in the space, please consider joining us at the XD Academy Discord server at dsc.gg/XD Academy. We'll be offering special rewards for the first 100 and 1,000 joiners of our Discord when our product launches later this year. So make sure to get in early and be whitelisted for special perks. I'll see you there.